And welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Mickey Sherman, author of How Can You Defend Those People? How can you defend those people? Hi, thanks for being on the show, Mickey.
Pleasure.
Okay, I can't resist. How can you defend those people?
And that's why I named it that, because...
How many times have you get asked that?
Per day by members of my own family, 12 times. It's just... People like me, criminal defense lawyers, we are like walking targets. We've got like kick me signs on our back, and everyone seems to kind of resent what we do. And
until they need you.
That metamorphosis takes about 13 seconds. We are the scum of the earth. We are the co-conspirators with the people who are robbing their houses. We are evil. We are the architects of the destruction of humanity until and unless their child or their brother-in-law or their mother gets arrested. Then all of a sudden, we're nice people.
Before we go into some of the highlights of your book, there's no better authority to answer the question. How does the criminal justice system in this country work?
It stinks, but it's the best one around.
It stinks, but it's good.
No, it's the best one available.
Best one available.
It's not infallible, and that's why people like me and a lot of other people are against the death penalty. There's so many people who deserve to be put to death. There's no question about it. I mean, I would pull the switch on Timothy McVeigh or Alan, what's his face, the one who killed Polly Klaas. But the problem is, for every incredibly evil person who deserves to die, there's that one or two people out there who are wrongfully convicted. And we've seen through Barry Scheck and the Innocence Project that there are a lot of people.
And we just had our own Supreme Court ruling on this.
Yeah.
And this country's divided over it.
Yeah. But it's not that the people don't need or should be put to death. It's just that the system is not so perfect that we're going to kill somebody, and we're going to kill somebody who's innocent.
Is it fair to say, Mickey, that poor people don't get a good break?
You know, it's not fair to say that. And I know it sounds like I'm being a shill for the criminal justice system, but I got to tell you, most of the big cases are not the ones we see on TV. They're not the ones. It's not Scott Peterson. It's not William Kennedy Smith or Rush Limbaugh. It's the hard work that's done by the public defenders of the major cities, of the small towns, lawyers who are there not because they want to get their name in the paper or they want to be on TV or they want to be on talk radio or whatever. They're there because they're committed to doing their job, and they're doing it for little money, a lot of criticism, no thanks, and they do a hell of a job.
I want to ask you about public defenders.
Yeah.
For one thing that you said in your book about public defenders really struck a chord with me. You said that very often, for many folks who have to use them, the public defender is the first person or the only person treated that person with dignity and respect, and that really resonated with me.
I
always thought that the public defender was like maybe a little schlubby kind of a lawyer.
Is
that a bad judgment I made?
No, but it's a very common judgment, and what you said is the rule in terms of what people think, and there's a reason for it. Think about it. Some guy gets arrested by the state police. He's brought to the state courthouse. He's put in front of the state prosecutor. There's the state judge. State bail person sets the bail. But then he's told, don't worry, we're going to give you somebody guy. We're going to give you your own advocate. And who do they bring out? Somebody who works for the state.
Right.
So the PR is horrible. It's just a bad rap. And in addition to that, they don't make a lot of money, and then they make no money per case. They're on a salary, and people think you get nothing for nothing. And unless they're being paid, then how good a job can they be doing?
They were so good. Why aren't they out making millions?
Exactly. And the reason for that is, and there are some people who don't have the ability, but the great majority of the public defenders, you know why they're not out there making millions is because they care about the people. They care about the little guy. They care about the people's rights. And they'll do those cases, the ones that people don't want to do. And they do it for less money, but for a great moral commitment. And that says quite a bit.
I want to ask you about something that makes a good criminal defense lawyer. Is it really the showmanship, the charm, the karma, or is it just really honest, good, hard work?
B, yeah.
Hard work.
A is gravy. A is extra.
A is the icing on the cake.
I mean, you can't look and act like a schmuck. There's no question about that. Because, as I've always said, A criminal trial is not much different than the 5th grade run for class president. It's a bit of a popularity contest. So if you're a likable person and you're the defense attorney, that's a good thing. If you're an unlikable person, that could be very negative. But what's going to count is the quality of the way you try the case, and whether or not, and it's an interesting aspect, whether or not the jury believes that you believe in your case and your client.
Okay, so
and that's tough to do.
That brings us to the next question, because you don't choose to defend your clients based upon your belief in whether he's guilty.
Correct. It's so many people think, well, if you find out your guy's guilty, I guess you're going to drop the case. Or have you ever represented anybody who's guilty? Every day. I mean, that's what we do.
That's what you do
Most
for a living.
people are guilty.
That's what you do for a living.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get paid to represent people that are probably guilty.
Most often than not.
Right.
The question is,
Okay.
what are they guilty of? Is there a
Right.
lesser offense?
So, does your passion then depend on the gravity of the crime?
No.
Or the personality of the client you're defending? If you don't like them, you're not going to defend them good?
No, but I got to tell you, and I think I do mention that in my book, we represent some people who are horrible people or have done horrible things. I think I quote Kathy Lee Gifford, that sometimes good people do bad things.
Right.
Okay? Which tells you something about my educational background. I'm quoting Kathy Lee Gifford instead of the Supreme Court.
Which isn't she a neighbor of yours too?
No, well, no, yeah, I guess so. But in any event, the issue is, do we have to believe in them to do a good job? No, but they want us to believe in them. It's very important on a client's behalf that we believe in them, or at least believe in the strength of the case. Whether we like them or not means nothing.
Well,
but if they're really an obnoxious, offensive person, you shouldn't take the case.
Right.
You're just not going to work well with this person.
Well, people lie to their own lawyer down to the end,
Yes.
to their own serious detriment.
Absolutely.
Yes and yes and yes.
Absolutely. And what's funny, though, it's not the people you think that lie that much. You would think that it's the street criminal or the organized crime guy or the drug dealer. They don't lie. They'll tell us the real deal because they know the system. They've been through it before. Their family, their people have been through it. It's the hedge fund guy. It's the rich guy. It's the investment banker who's done something wrong. He's smarter than us. He's making a boatload of money more than us. He could buy and sell me 16 times. I drive my 11-year-old BMW, and he's there in a Bentley and a driver. So he doesn't want to tell me the truth because he's embarrassed to say what he did, perhaps, and also he's smarter. He knows that this is what he should say, and it always backfires. It always comes back to bite him in the rear end.
Are there criminals that you won't defend?
Yeah, and
where do you draw the line?
It's not where you think, and that was a chapter I put in the book, is what cases or clients won't you take? And it's not what you think. Most people think, well, I guess you won't take them if you think they're guilty. Well, that's of course not
we
true.
already went through that.
Right. Each one of us, criminal defense, we have our own kind of little lines in the sand, which sometimes don't make a lot of sense. With me, I got a problem in child molestation cases where there's some and that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. You and a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll do a touching, but I won't do a penetration case. Now, again, I don't know why there's a difference, but to me there's a difference. Another one, which is, again, idiosyncratic, is I have no problem doing acquaintance rape cases or date rape cases where the person knew the guy. Well, I don't want to do a stranger rape case. And that makes no sense intellectually. If you talk to any women's organization, they'll tell you that very often a date rape or an acquaintance rape is worse.
It's worse,
because it's a betrayal.
Exactly. You've been blindsided.
Totally. But for some reason, I don't have a problem doing the case. What I did is I emailed one night a bunch of folks around the country, friends of mine, criminal defense lawyers, and said, what cases won't you take? And I got the greatest answers. Ben Brapman, who's probably the best here in New York, he won't take terrorists because much of his family, extended family, was wiped out in the Holocaust, and he equates terrorism with the Holocaust. William Kennedy Smith, William Kennedy Smith was represented by Roy Black. Roy won't take bombers because they kill indiscriminately. Geraldine Merritt in Denver, Colorado, great lawyer. She was the second chair for Timothy McVeigh, fought for his life until the moment that the gas went on. She'll do that. He killed 168 people, 27 kids, but she won't take people who are accused of abuse of the elderly. Dick DeGuerin from Texas, who's a great lawyer, did Bobby Durst, who chopped the neighbor up. Right. He'll do anything except he won't do rats. That's people who inform on other people, or people who write bad checks.
Right.
I love that.
Or bad checks.
Yeah, bad checks.
Right.
So everyone has their own thing.
Everyone has their own piece of the action. You had a very high-profile client, I guess, that your name is associated with, and a Kennedy Ken.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time left.
Good.
But exactly right. But my family who watches my show
Yes.
gets mad at me if I don't ask you
Of
about
course,
Michael
of course,
Skaggs.
of course. He's innocent.
He's innocent.
It's not that he's not guilty. It's more than that. He's innocent. It is the bane of my existence, and I'm totally responsible. I was driving the car when he was found not guilty.
Right. Now you said that the bane of your existence, you're responsible. How hard is it to take your own, what you believe to be your own errors in defense?
Horrible.
You live with it?
Yes. Yes, I do, especially that case. And that's really the only one that I've ever really lost that had that much impact on me. It's horrible. I know this young man is innocent. I know he didn't do it. And the jury did not like him. And they, for reasons not unknown to me, but for reasons which are totally bizarre, they found him guilty, and I will never, ever believe that.
How reliable are juries?
Generally, they're pretty good, but the Skakela case is a perfect example of that a system does not always work. And I know that sounds like sour grapes. It is, but I've spoken to the jurors there. I spoke to them about 2 days after the verdict. They all went to a party that Dominic Dunn was throwing, and I kind of let myself in because I wanted to speak to them.
Why?
And the things that I learned upon which they based the verdict were absolutely ridiculous.
But it does come. A lot of it does come down to how much you like the person.
Very often, like I said, it's the fifth grade class president election, and they did not like him. And they did not like him for all the wrong reasons. He didn't testify yet. You would think that he's testified for 7 weeks.
Well, you know something, I guess it comes down to the age-old story, which I was having. There's a difference in perception and fact. They're not one and the same.
Right. Sometimes perception is reality. But
sometimes perception is reality.
But then again, in other situations, it's not.
We only have about a minute left. Is this a good way to make a living?
Being a lawyer or writing a book?
Writing a book. Not being no.
Being a criminal defense lawyer, you're not going to get real rich being a criminal defense lawyer, but it is extraordinarily rewarding. I tell one little story there. I had representing a math teacher at the local high school who was charged with sexually assaulting a student.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and it was in front of all the entire class. Ooh. And he was a horrible appearing man. It looked like he certainly did it. I mean, the jury wanted to kill him the moment he walked in. Well, he was found not guilty. And that night, family and I went out to get pizza to celebrate at a local pizza place. And this young African-American kid looks up at me and says, "You defended Mr. Kelly. You're Sherman. You saved a life today. You saved a man's life today." And that was better. That was better than the fee. Thanks, Mickey. I have to say I enjoyed your book, and I have a new respect for lawyers, criminal lawyers, and for public defenders. Totally.
Right. I'm Judith West. You're watching Getting Your Money's Worth. We had Mickey Sherman. How can you defend those people? Thank you for watching.